I'm Father James, and this is Barely Protestant, and I wanted to reflect upon the death of Pope Benedict the XVI. So, Pope Benedict the XVI, obviously, I'm not Roman Catholic, I am Anglican. So where he and I have quite a few differences theologically. That being said, he is definitely a first-rate theologian, and definitely one of the better theologians of the past century within the Roman among the Roman pontiffs. As well, what's interesting about his life is that he went into Vatican II as sort of one of the part of the liberal party, and he is now known as one of the conservative, more traditionalist, not traditionalist, but much more on the conservative towards traditionalist side within Roman sort of theological camps. And that shows a major shift in the theology from Rome. But just that being said, he earns a lot of respect from many classically Protestant theologians and clerics and Christians and such, and definitely a lot from the traditionalist and conservative movements within the Roman tradition. And just for all that, he is to be praised. And I am as an Anglican and as a priest myself and everything, I am more of the opinion that Rome has not denied the gospel. So I do not believe, for instance, that Rome, anyone who dies as a Roman Catholic is going to hell or whatever kind of thing. That being said, I mean, again, I disagree with quite a bit of their theology. So just understand that. So the big thing with Benedict is his relationship with two branches of Protestantism. The first one being Lutheranism and the second one being Anglicanism. And I wanted to speak a little bit about Lutheranism and much more about Anglicanism. And so this is where it gets kind of complicated for me when it comes to appreciation for him. So as a German, he had, and presumably still has, a great affinity and love for Lutheranism, and did what he could to bridge ecumenical divides there. And so he definitely had, you can see that in his life's work all the way up to even his life as the Bishop of Rome. Now, a lot of people say that he had the same love for Anglicanism. It is very difficult for me to see that as an Anglican. Now, don't get me wrong, there are times where he's shown great love and affection for instance, the ACNA, my group, the Anglican Church in North America. That's what that is, the ACNA. So he sent a letter, for instance, when we were having our convocation about forming the ACNA. He was talking about looking forward to ecumenical dialogue with us and trying to work with us together and all that sort of stuff. So we loved and appreciated that. However, on the other hand, he has been one of the biggest pushers for the defense of apostolic curiae. Now, this gets into a bit technical stuff, so I'll give the short of it right now. The short of it is basically trying to deny that I am a legitimate priest, that Anglicanism has legitimate priests. He very much pushed for that. Apostolic curiae denies the validity of holy orders within Anglicanism. And when he was Cardinal Ratzinger under Pope John Paul II in the late 90s. What is the name of that? Let me just look up more. I had it over here, I think, somewhere. I don't know where it is. There is a, oh wait, maybe it's here. Ad tuendum fidem. It's Ad tuendum fidem was an apostolic letter from Pope John Paul II. It was approved and pushed by what's it called? The Congregation. Let me see. Congregation for Doctrine of Faith. Okay. And in it basically describes apostolic curiae, which denies the holy orders within Anglicanism, calling it absolutely null and utterly void, denies it as, or affirms it as basically a second order of infallibility, so basically unquestionable. And he also helped orchestrate, when he was Pope, Bishop of Rome, he helped orchestrate the, quote, Anglican Ordinariate, which is a complete slap in the face of Anglicans. I do not. Yeah, it's a horrible group. It is basically a group that tries to sheep steal from Anglicans, saying, "Hey, you can pretend to be Anglican, but really Roman Catholic, but you kind of almost look like Anglican." That's basically what the group is. And so I know people who joined it, who were horribly abused actually within it, who then came back to Anglicanism, and whether it was actual abuse or liberal corruption. That was another thing. There was one I know who was denied being able to be made a priest, because even though he already was a priest, but denied, quote, being made a priest because he was just too conservative as a Christian. So there are a lot of things that I dislike about what Francis, well, yeah, Francis too, but about what Benedict XVI did as far as his relationships with the Anglican tradition are concerned. I think he is one of the single greatest causes for further division. When you try to poach and sheep steal, that's not kind. That's not, yeah. I mean, take it however you want, but it's just not. Anyway, so I say that because he is a public figure, and I think it's important to point out some of the issues that we have had with him. But that being said, other than that one thing, in many ways, he's about as good of a Bishop of Rome as you can get in the 21st century. And Rome needs, if Rome is to survive from its encroaching liberalism, it needs more men like Benedict XVI. And it's sadly just getting worse for them. So definitely keep them in prayer, because Francis is sort of making things a lot worse. I can say this freely as a non-Roman priest. But keep Rome in prayer. They definitely, I mean, we're getting out on the other end of the tunnel of liberalism and modernism. They're starting to get into the deepest parts of it. So we're sort of like seeing the sunshine, the light at the end of the tunnel, and they're behind us, getting deeper in. So yeah, just I wanted to share my thoughts. He's a complicated man. I believe he is with God. I don't deny that. I don't believe that Roman Catholics deny the gospel. I don't believe that they're guilty of the Galatian heresy. I, of course, do believe that their theology is off on a number of things, including in soteriology, salvation, theology of salvation. But I don't believe that they are complete anathema. So, let's see. Do I want to take any of these? Let's see. Do you disagree with quite a bit of Roman Catholic theology, or a little bit that is substantial? I disagree with obviously their understanding of the papacy and a lot of the Marian dogmas and soteriology, but that's like, I don't know how to answer that. So those are the big things that I disagree with them on. Rome preaches a false gospel. I would beg to differ. They believe that Jesus Christ is the sovereign Lord of renewed creation. They believe that salvation is only by and through Jesus. They believe that it is the death and resurrection, the incarnation of Christ that saves us. They have bad understandings of the Blessed Virgin. They have bad understandings of the merits of the treasury of merit and things like that. Yes. But at the end of the day, they are not anathematizing the gospel. That's not true. even, and this becomes one of the issues I have, is that modern sort of neo-reformed sort of late, I guess it might start with the Princeton theologians, but definitely it's been more prominent in sort of like the 1900s and the 21st century and such. We find this issue of redefining the gospel. Well, I guess it happens during the Reformation as well. But anyway, we find this problem of redefining the gospel as, how do I go to heaven when I die? That's not the gospel. The gospel is not about you, to borrow from Reformed or Neo-Reformed people. The gospel is not about you. And in fact, the Neo-Reformed understanding of the gospel is the most man-centered thing I've ever come across, because it's all about your own personal salvation. Anyway, I don't want to go beyond that. Based ACNA, that's true. All right. Do you think Benedict's passing will allow Francis to pursue a more liberal theology, or will it cause Francis to shy away from this push and not rock the boat, at least temporarily? No, I think he'll go further. I think he will. Is it even a possible view for Romish Christians to see Anglican priests as valid? It's not a possible view. Well, I mean, I guess you could talk about Holy Order. Canonically, there is no exception, as far as we know. Like Apostolic Icuri is the definitive work on it. You could talk about, well, what about the old Catholic orders and things like that? You could talk about that. I don't know, but they haven't canonically spoken on that as far as I know. So as far as everything goes, you still have to consider it absolutely null and utterly void. Do you think Rome will canonize him? Actually, I would have said yes, but I think since he's the closest thing to a trad that you've got left in the papacy, in sort of the line of the papacy, and he resigned and everything, they might not actually. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll throw a bone to like the tradish and conservative people. Although again, I want to point out he's not a trad. Trads would appreciate him much more, I'll say, but trads generally would still find him problematic, and for good reason. Again, like there's an entire paradigm shift with the Roman Catholics from pre and post Vatican. Again, think of Benedict XVI. Ratzinger was a liberal, and he's now considered the closest thing to a trad pope that you could imagine. Well, that's not what they teach. They don't teach. So he's asking, so it's okay to teach that I merit salvation by my works. That's not what they teach today. You can argue that that's the medieval understanding and all this sort of stuff. But that's just not what they teach today. And yes, they can be inconsistent on those sorts of things. They don't believe it is faith and works. They believe it is faith working through love. Yes, and that's actually a phrase that's in Galatians. So the issue I've had with Rome has never really been the question of justification, because oftentimes what it amounts to is a redefining of both the word faith and the word justification. So they tend to define faith as a mere mental assent, right? Whereas within the Protestant tradition, we would identify faith as a trusting faith, not just a mental assent, a trusting faith. And so part of the dialogue, the issues that happen is, well, like trust is an active thing. Like, is that, I wouldn't call it a work, but like one could call that a work, right? In fact, that's what a lot of sort of the antinomians do. So anyway, like, yeah, they don't claim to be meriting their salvation by their works. Didn't you mention once that the REC bishops receive the same salute as the Roman bishops from the Swiss Guard? Yes, that's true. Yes. Do Anglicans believe the office of the papacy is Antichrist like other groups? I don't think we have dogmatically stated such. We did have a prayer, I think in the 1552, praying for the heresies of the heresies of the Pope to be gone or something like that. I don't remember. But as far as canonically, what we have today is just the Bishop of Rome hath no jurisdiction in this land of England. That's it. I am so confused. Seriously, I literally read that in the Catechism. The beatific vision is merited by works powered by grace. So you'd have to show it to me specifically. Maybe, and one of the issues that comes with talking about Roman Catholic theology is that it is, I would say, incredibly contradictory. I mean, just take, for instance, the whole death penalty thing. Like, it is like it is crazy the sort of 180 they do on that, and how they try to pretend that they've not changed dogma at all. I just, yeah. But one other thing you hear is like, well, the Catechism, which is approved by the Pope and is meant to be a tool for teaching the whole church. Well, that's not infallible, even though that would clearly be infallible according to Vatican I. But I'm answering these questions. I don't know if I should be adding this with the a video with on Pope Benedict. Any big topics to be discussed we can expect from you in the near future? Let's see. What am I doing? We're nothing big right now. Well, there's something big happening right now, which I will announce in the next few weeks. But we're still working on it, and I want us to get about it, Zach. Yeah. But you know more than I do, so I trust you. Okay. Well, thank you. St. Paul clearly teaches the death penalty is permissible. It's not a question. They didn't change it; they developed it. Yeah. Anyway, so I probably should have. The more I think about this, we're talking about the death of the Bishop of Rome, and then it turns into a Q&A and everything. So I don't know. I'm sorry. Maybe I feel a little bad about that. Anyway, my final thoughts on the Bishop of Rome. Well, as he was living, he was Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. The death of Pope Benedict XVI, may he rest in peace. I pray that he is being drawn ever closer and closer to the love of Christ. I believe that he is a Christian, and that he is with Christ. I believe that. I'm going to close with a prayer. Let me see. 109 from the 2019 Book of Common Prayer, Traditional Language Edition. Almighty God, with whom do live the spirits of those who depart hence in the Lord, and with whom the souls of the faithful are enjoying felicity, we praise and magnify thy holy name for all thy servants who have finished their course in thy faith and fear. At the general resurrection in the last day, we and all who are members of the mystical body of thy Son may be set on his right hand, and hear that his most joyful voice, "Come ye, blessed children of my Father, receive the kingdom prepared for you from the beginning of the world." Grant this, we beseech thee, O merciful Father, through Jesus Christ, our mediator and Redeemer. Amen. All right. Thank you all for joining, and I hope you all have a good day, night, whatever time it is where you are. If you do believe in prayers for the dead, which as Anglicans we do have that, I encourage you to maybe pray a novena or something for the repose of Benedict the 16th. Blessings. Good night.